Greetings, my loves, and welcome back to my channel, HADAR, the Love Beacon Restored. I am Love Loyal, and today I'm super excited because we're moving on to our first segment of Reassure, which is Know Thyself. So, what does that mean? Knowing thyself means getting in tune with who you are, knowing where you came from, knowing the most intimate details of yourself, and knowing which direction or what is your mission or your journey here. Now, we have a ton of people walking around the planet and they don't know who they are. And you can tell they don't know who they are because you'll see them emulating different television shows, videos, or just what has been pretty much deemed acceptable by society. So we have a ton of people who watch different reality shows and they believe that because this is something that they see on TV, and if they act this way in reality, that they would somehow become famous. Now, I'm not going to lie. There are a couple of things about the television that disturbs me. And the direction in which our system or this world is moving in, social media platforms as well as television has been definitely a segue into people becoming more popular and more famous. Now, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with these avenues. But what bothers me, I think, the most, or to some degree, is that these people don't know who they are. They were told who they are, told how they act, told what to sell, to keep a certain frequency going, to keep a certain level of fear, to keep us all in some form of control. Well, once you start tapping into yourself and you get in tune with yourself by knowing yourself, then you have a different type of confidence and you are not afraid to move about in the world because you know and you understand yourself intimately and how who you are impacts society. So I think that that's extremely important because we have to be responsible for our own energy, and we have to be responsible for the energy that we're giving off, because the energy that we given off also can impact somebody's life greatly. So the more time you spend in getting in touch with yourself, the better person you can become. You'll start to learn what will work for you in your life and what will not work for you in your life anymore, because you know that from inside out there's certain things that stimulate you or rise you in a good and positive way, and then there's other things that you're like, no, I'm not really feeling that and it's not good for my spirit, so I'm gonna stay away from it. But you won't know that if you don't take the time to just really sit in a quiet room and ask yourself some deep questions about who you are. So I'm going to just run over some questions. You guys will see me kind of look this way because I have my books. I do read and I do spend a lot of time getting in tune with the divine realms, as well as what constitutes the mission of what HADAR Love Beacon about. A Love Beacon is about, which is to become fully restored and to become a better person so that we can have a better world. A lot of the times what happens is when people aren't aware of their own energy that they're giving off, when the direction of a conversation changes and it now becomes an argument. I don't know if you may have heard somebody or someone say to you, well, what happened, or what did I do wrong, or why are we even arguing? Well, that's because that person was not aware of what they did that changed the direction of the conversation, or perhaps the tone in which they used may have been offensive to the person that was receiving the message. But instead of taking responsibility for that, a person may immediately be like, oh, well, it's not my problem, you weren't listening, or that's not what I said, or that's not how I meant it. Well, that may be true, but if you were paying attention to your own energy. And if you were aware of what you were giving off, then perhaps you may learn or know how you may have become offensive to someone else, and how you may have affected someone else's energy or atmosphere. So being that we are all connected, it's important for us to be responsible for our energy and the things that we give off. So for an example, I was having a discussion with my boyfriend, and the discussion started to take a different direction. In the midst of the discussion, I went to say no, but before I said no, don't say that, or no, don't do that, I caught myself, and I had to think in that millisecond, wow, how is what I'm about to say going to further escalate or agitate the conversation? So in order to do that, you have to be aware of what you give off, and how certain things make you feel. So let's go ahead and get right to the questions. So some of these questions, again, guys, you're going to take out your pen and paper. You're going to write these things down. I believe there's power in writing. I believe there's a power as well as in with the words and tuning in. When you're writing something down, your mind, your heart, and your focus is tuned in with the information. So you can get as detailed as you want to get with this lesson. And I'm telling you right now, the more you start to dig into yourself, other questions is just going to come out the sky. So I'll just go ahead and read some of the things that I had written down for this portion of the segment. And the most important question is, who are you? Who are you? You know, are you being who you are in front of everyone all the time? Or are you putting a face on for everyone to see, but deep down inside, you're really not nothing like what you've been showing everybody else? So who you are could be, what positive influence are you bringing into the world? Are you contributing? How do you work with others? I mean, are you a mean person? Are you a nice person? Are you someone who is receptive to receiving the information from someone else who may be criticizing you or pointing out a flaw in you? Or are you just like, I'm perfect, nobody in the world can tell me anything, my life is all together? I mean, who are you is very broad, but that's a question that you can ask yourself. How do you fit into your family? You know, I've mentioned in a few of my videos that we all come from a family culture. I myself am the fourth child. At the time in which I was born, the conditions in my home was a lot different than, say, my siblings when they first were born. What were the conditions of your home at the time that you were born? Some people may have been born into a prominent family, but things changed, and then the children that came after, the money was lost, or the house was lost, changed. So those children that were used to having riches and tons of money, you know, those children born into that may be different perhaps to the children that came after, that was born in a little bit more of a hardship. That will obviously affect the type of person that you will become, because you didn't have that money that your siblings had. You didn't come from that. By the time you came into your family's household, the family was broke. You didn't have no money, so you had to eat hot dogs and beans, or, you know, peanut butter and jelly, or some of us peanut butter and syrup sandwiches. So these things will shape you, and they will change who you are. When were you born? Were you born in the 80s? Were you born in the 90s? You know, these different variations, as I know you all have heard, we have generations, and at the time in which a person was born will dictate the type of life and expectation they want from the rest of society in the world. And I mean, you guys, this is true stuff. I mean, you've heard of, you know, the Generation X's and the Y2Ks and the, the baby boomers, these things are real because they do influence how the rest of the world will receive you, and it's how life happens and works. I mean, there's a ton of kids that may have graduated high school or graduated college in the recent year, and boom, they just want everything. They don't think they should have to wait for anything. They're ready to just jump right in on to it. Well, when you know who you are, you know that these things have influenced your take on life. I'm Generation X, so born in 1978, my whole direction and my whole thought process of life is going to differ from someone who is 10 to 12 years younger than I am. So that's definitely something to think about. What time were you born? I was born at 10:34 a.m. in the morning, and I know a lot of people are like, well, why, how would time influence anything, well, there are a lot of things in our world that influence us and impact us. There are some people who are not morning people. I am not going to say what I'm not, because I believe that, there's also an energy attached with that. However, when you are aware of, these times of day and when you came into the world, it might help understand perhaps why waking up in the mornings may be a little bit of a challenge for you. I know for me, I was born at 10:34 a.m. Waking up in the morning is a challenge for me. Sometimes eating breakfast before 10 o'clock in the morning is something that doesn't sit well with my body. My body doesn't like to have a ton of food in the morning. Well, I know that because of the time I was born. I was able to pay attention to what was happening to my bodies. And as I mentioned, we'll go through more detailed steps of things that you can do to deal with some of the adjustments and challenges that you may face in just dealing with life day to day. Another question is, what day of the week were you born? I was born on a Monday. A Monday is considered a moon day. And again, these are things that I can go really deep into, and at some point I will. But again, each day of the week has a meaning. It has a purpose. It says a lot about personality traits and characteristics and things of that nature. So knowing what day of the week you were born is really important. Again, knowing thyself. And what is your blood type? Now, the blood type has a ton of information. I mean, knowing your blood type is not just specifically for, transfusions, or in the event you need to have some sort of assistance medically. The blood is obviously a crucial and important part to the body, but there's so much other things that the blood is for. Like, my blood type is B, B positive. I don't have a negative, but negative and positive has a completely whole different meaning. And I mean, there's a ton of videos and books out there that goes into Rh negatives and A, B, O, and negatives and so on and so forth. But specifically for me, being a melanated woman and being a blood type B is how my body responds to food that's being deposited into my system. In this last 21 days for winter solstice, I had the opportunity to fast, in which I ate one meal a day for 21 days after sunset, and it consisted of a very green vegetated diet. And I am a meat eater, so I did eat a light meat, maybe a chicken breast or salmon with the salad. And in those 21 days, I saw a dramatic appearance in my body, and a boost of energy for the food that I was eating. And again, there's a ton of information out there on different types of food that you should eat for your blood type. Now again, I'm not saying that you should do that. I'm saying you should know all of this stuff about yourself. You should pull all of these things from out of the ether, because that's where you came from. You came from somewhere. But the more in tune that you get with knowing who you are and knowing how these things impact your physical being here, then you'll be aware and you'll be able to stop yourself from becoming too agitated or invested in something that, quite frankly, doesn't concern you anyway, because you have other work to do, like focusing on how you could be a better person in society. So those are just some of the questions that you can ask yourself. I'll be sure to put those down in the description box. But again, you guys, you can ask yourself anything you want. The purpose of this exercise is to make sure that you're getting in tune with yourself. And if you listen quietly, I promise you, it'll tell you what you need. You can tell yourself. Your body will tell yourself what you need. It will tell you if you should cut people off. It will tell you if you should stay away from certain meals. It will tell you if you should not even watch certain program. You'll get an internal message. I cannot explain it to you other than do the work and get back at me and let me know what you found and what did you discover for yourself. But again, I am so grateful that you guys are with me on this journey, and I'll be sure to take pictures and show you guys that I put the work in there for you as well. So if you have any questions on your journey, I'm here, and we can do this as always together. Happy New You to you, and I look forward to us continuing our journey. Stay tuned for part 2 of the reassurance segment, which is going to be affirm, affirm, affirm. Thank you again so much for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe to this channel. Definitely subscribe, because you'll get notifications as to when a new video is available, so we can get this work. I love you all very much, and have a blessed evening.